violence.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleagues as well. We are having a very important debate tonight.
Since the morning of February 28th, I know from coast to coast to coast, people are scared. Canadians are praying for peace, wondering if the world is unraveling even faster, even as we've wondered since Putin invaded Ukraine 4 years ago. Is the world capable of pulling together for peace? And that is my goal tonight, to try to find some common threads, because what this must not be is purely a partisan debate. It's far too easy to point out that the Prime Minister made a mistake on February 28th in being too quick to issue a declaration that we supported bombing when it was obviously now, and it should have been obvious that day to the Prime Minister, a violation of international law. We must stand with international law, but now we are Canadians first and foremost, and around this room and through all parts of Canada, I'm sure what we most want is for our country to do the right thing. And I think if that means that we have to put partisanship to the side, s'il vous plaît, je pense que peut-être.
So please, I think we can put partisanship aside.
Maintenant.
And the debate is and should be on what we can do.
Foreign Affairs said clearly we need to move to de-escalation. She's not alone in that. I want to quote the Secretary General of the United Nations at their emergency debates of the Security Council. And of course, we know that around the table at that Security Council are some of the prime actors in avoiding peace in this conflict. But still, Secretary General Antonio Guterres says military action carries the risk of igniting a chain of events that no one can control in the most volatile region, one of the most volatile regions of the world. And he calls for the world needs a way out now. And that way is de-escalation and an immediate cessation of hostilities. How can Canada help? Can we help? Well, we do need to stop saying there is no international law. There is such a thing as international law. It's the United Nations Charter. And it's critical that Canada continually defend the fact that there is a United Nations Charter. We're wrong when we decide it's important, difficult, awkward, embarrassing to point out when the United States violates the international rule of law by, for instance, seizing the president of Venezuela. Hard to point these things out, but when we have a U.S. president that right now 60% of Canadians now see the U.S. as a threat, we really do need to insist on the United Nations Charter being observed and respected, or who will stand up for us if someday we need to remind people that the United Nations Charter defends Canada's sovereignty. We need to defend the sovereignty of even those nations we want to see regime change as quickly as possible. No one will disagree, I don't think, that the Iranian regime is a despicable and brutal regime that oppresses, suppresses, and kills its own people. But that doesn't mean that the United States and Israel had any legal grounds to go into bombing of Tehran. That was reckless, dangerous, and we will continue to see the consequences maybe into the generations. We need now to seize the chance somehow, against the odds, of Canada playing the kind of role we're still respected in the world, play the kind of role we played long ago. Well, not that long ago. I'm thinking of Lloyd Axworthy. He was our foreign minister from 1996 to 2000, played a key role in getting the landmines treaty. And he's calling on this government to respect international law, to speak out, and to ensure that we're on the right side of history. For this, Mr. Speaker, it means that those of us in this room tonight take our responsibility, not just as partisans, but as human beings on a planet in peril, to put aside the obvious fun of making political points and getting partisan jabs. There hasn't been a single person speaking tonight with whom I won't agree with most of what they said. Not every word. Most of what everybody says in this room tonight is about how do we protect all of the world from an escalating conflict whose ultimate consequences could be beyond the disaster that we dare not speak its name. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I conclude.